And I told this guy, I said, I'm not going to be your mentor. But sure enough, 6 months later, my phone rang. Hey, it's me. And I was like, bro, all right, fine. I'll mentor you.
We don't always see ourselves the way other people see us.
Yeah.
And if we're just listening to this inner critic or the inner voice or the lies of the enemy, we don't have someone speaking truth over us. We can just miss out on so much of our purpose, so much of the gifts that God has placed on our life because we're not seeing it. And that's what a mentor has done for me. And Tanya's actually mentored me since the time I was, I think, 23, 24.
Embrace the authenticity of your own mentors. Like, be vulnerable, share those issues that you're facing.
Yes.
Because if you're trying to hide them, you're not going to get anywhere.
So
and eventually, you know what? People are not stupid. They're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
So just be who you are, hang on tight to Jesus, and let your light shine with all its flaws.
Welcome to the Go&TELL podcast, where we share practical tips to believers all around the world. We are a community focused on encouraging the everyday believer to step into their calling of sharing the good news. There are no superstars in the kingdom of heaven. You don't need a platform or status. You just need the gospel and the Holy Spirit. Let's jump right in to Go&TELL.
Welcome to this episode of Go&TELL. We have a very fun topic to go over with you today, and we have a very special guest or some special co-host with us. First, my dear wife and co-founder of Go&TELL, Tanya Brand.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun. I'm wondering where the kids are right now, but
Well, they're sitting outside the door, but anyways, hopefully they'll be quiet.
and we have Mrs. Janelle.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here.
We're glad to hear. We're glad you're here also. So today we're talking about a specific topic that is interesting to you, I'm sure, and it is the necessity of having mentors in your life. And we're talking about mentorship today.
Okay, Shawn, I feel like before we get started, it would be really helpful. And I was even asking you before we started this podcast, what is the difference between discipleship and mentorship? Because I feel like in conversations I've had with girls at a young adult ministry that I help lead is sometimes it feels like maybe a mentor is someone who isn't a Christian and you just kind of look up to them, and maybe someone who disciples you is like, that's a Christian. But I feel like there's so much more depth to that. And what would you say is the difference between those two?
Sure. So discipleship is kind of like the broader scope of spiritual growth and having someone in your life who helps you in this broad scope of growing in your walk with Christ. A mentor is someone who is a lot more focused. That's helping you grow in becoming more like that individual or the profession that they do or something like this. So, for example, we may call a mentor a life coach or something of this nature. So there's not the spiritual element fully to it, but there are spiritual elements part of it, depending on who's your life coach. But it's more of helping you become closer to that person you look up to. So you look up to this individual, you hear what they do, you see what they do, and you say, well, I want to be like that person. That person would mentor you to help you understand how to live a life like them to get where they're at. So one's a broad scope discipleship. The other one is smaller scope, which is mentorship, like leadership,
Right.
things like this.
That makes sense. That's so
Great
good.
question. Very good. So I know very well that you had a mentor that impacted your life. I mean, he impacted your life for forever. Shawn Weber, who was the chaplain for the Dallas Cowboys. How did that come about?
Yes, that's a great question because I always wanted a mentor. Growing up, whenever I first gave my life to Jesus, I said, man, I want a mentor. Nobody would mentor me. Like literally nobody would mentor me. My first mentors were actually just books. I would find people, heroes of the faith that I really looked up to, and I would just go to the Christian bookstore. I'd buy their books. I would read them, and they mentored me. Many of them were dead. They don't even know they were my mentor. One day I'm going to see them in heaven and be like, bro, you're my mentor. They have no idea. But then I saw this guy named John Weber, who was a chaplain for the Dallas Cowboys. And I had a passion for football and I had a passion for Jesus. Oftentimes, for you that are listening, you're saying, how do I find my purpose and my calling? Well, your ultimate calling is to make Jesus known. And then how do I find my purpose? Well, what's your passion? And then combine the two. And that's what I did. I said, I love football. I love Jesus. Let's combine the two. And this guy named John Weber is the guy doing it. And I wanted to work with, America's team, God's team, the Dallas
Mhm.
Cowboys.
Of
So,
course.
the way this happened, Tanya, was kind of fascinating. I've told you the story a few times,
Mhm.
but, I I would first of all, I said, "I wanna reach the Dallas Cowboys for Jesus." So I would go up to the practice facility, and I would jump in front of the cars when they left, the players' cars when they left, and, they would tell me how much I was number 1 and how great I was, and, they would go around me and keep driving. And eventually, the security guard started telling me, "You can't do that, you can't do that." And I'm like, "Well, I wanna be like John Webber, this guy." So, at the time, I didn't know who John Webber was, I just knew the position because I had a teacher in Bible school who was the chaplain for the Redskins. And again, I knew if the Redskins have a chaplain, how much more does God's team have a chaplain? It's America's team.
Oh boy.
And so but what I did every single day after, my classes at the college I was going to, I would go to the Cowboys practice facility, and I would go up to the secretary and ask her
Mm.
what the name and the phone number was for the chaplain,
Oh,
and she was my age, she was a cheerleader, she probably looked at me like, "What's wrong with this weirdo?" You know, "And why is he not asking for my number?" Um, but I asked for the chaplain's phone number, and I did this every single day for 30 straight
oh
days.
my goodness.
I walked straight in there, "Hey, what is the chaplain's name and phone number?" "I'm sorry, private information, I can't give it to you." "Okay, no problem." Next day, "What's the chaplain's name and phone number?" "I'm sorry, private information." Many times I would walk in, she would shake her head, and I would turn around and walk back out. And
Or
after 1 month of doing this, I walked in one day and she said, "Here." And on this piece of paper, it said John Weber and a phone number.
Mm.
And I picked the phone up, I called him, I'm like, "John, my name is Shawn. I've been coming for 30 days trying to find you." Um, and from that moment on, he said, "Okay, I'll be your mentor." And
Mm.
for the next 7 years, he mentored me, poured his life into me, taught me how to evangelize athletes. And so again, this is a difference between discipleship and mentorship. I wanted to know, how can I evangelize? How can I reach athletes?
Mhm.
Not just spiritual growth, although I wanted that. And John taught me so many things about following Christ and all these things. But most importantly, he taught me, how do I reach athletes? And for 7 years, he poured into me until he passed away of a heart attack one day. But um, all the things he poured into me, I was able to continue using as I continue working with the team, with the next chaplain, and then with the other sports teams in the area. Uh, he was an amazing mentor. And so we always talk about go points and tell
Yeah.
points within these episodes, and my encouragement is find a mentor. And kind of the tell I want to help you with is, if you don't have a mentor and you see someone that you want to be your mentor, just go to them every single day. Just every
Yeah.
single day until they finally say, "Bro, you're crazy, I'm calling the police on you," or, "Here's the phone number."
That's so
And
good.
it's a good way to get a mentor.
Yeah, which goes back to your question.
Mhm.
A mentor is basically somebody who really helps you hone your skills
Exactly.
of leadership in your sphere, in a certain sphere
Ex
of influence or a certain sphere where you live in.
Yeah. So here's I'm gonna volley a question back to you, since you just asked me a question. But I think you are the most amazing follower of Christ I've ever met, Tanya.
Oh, thank
Not just because you're my wife, but you are. And you have such a passion to mentor young ladies, and you have so many young ladies. Yeah, for you that are listening to me, she has so many mentor people asking her to mentor her. There's a waiting list. She was like, "I'm sorry, you have to get on the waiting list." And why are you so passionate to mentor people?
I think because I had a lack of that when I was in my late teens, in my 20s, and I've just seen around me so many people who've had that. And when you have a mentor, you really are able to launch from another level. Like, I want to these mentor people, these ladies around me, because I don't want them to start at ground zero.
Mm,
I want them to learn from my mistakes and not redo them and have to start down here. But here, like, ladies, here's what I've learned. Here's my failures, and this is your launching pad.
that's
Like,
good.
take it, and I want you to fly. And I think as a mentor, what you have to be okay with is if my fruit grows on my mentees trees, right? Because it's not about me, it's about building the kingdom of God. And if I can give them practical principles, spiritual principles of how to hone their skill of leadership, of catching another generation on fire for Jesus and becoming bold in who God created them to be, then so be it, because we're all working on this together.
So
It's a
good.
launching pad to where they can fly so much further and higher than I can ever go at this stage in my life. And I think that's so exciting to me.
Yeah, that's so good.
You say this all the time to me. You always say that you want these girls, their floor to be your ceiling.
Yep.
I think when you're looking for a mentor, look for someone who has that kind of a heart.
Yeah.
Someone who's already, I heard this one time from a preacher named T.D. Jakes. He said, if you're looking for a mentor, find someone who's been there, done that, and got the t-shirt, because they're not afraid for you to go there, do that, and get your own t-shirt. And you need to find someone like you, Tanya, who says, my ceiling is your floor. And those people are hard to find, but they are out there, and they want to mentor people, right? Is that what you're saying? Like, you want to mentor.
Oh, absolutely. And I have a mentor. I think that's so important as a mentor. You have to have a mentor. It's
Yes.
just like a one-on-one principle of like this is bottom line, because when I disciple people, I want to mentor people. I want to make sure that I'm not off, right? I have to have a sounding board to make sure that I am continuing to hone my leadership skills as well.
Hmm.
And
I
I
think
think,
why it's so helpful sometimes is because we don't always see ourselves the way other people see us.
Yeah.
And if we're just listening to this inner critic or the inner voice or the lies of the enemy, we don't have someone speaking truth over us. We can just miss out on so much of our purpose, so much of the gifts that God has placed on our life because we're not seeing it. And that's what a mentor has done for me. And Tanya's actually mentored me since the time I was, I think, 23, 24, and I'm now 32. So over half of my 20s, she was my mentor. And I can look back before I met Tanya and see like, wow, I really missed out on not having a mentor. And I think it's because I was like Shawn. Shawn was asking, I wasn't asking anyone to mentor me because I didn't realize how much I needed it. And something I would even add to what you shared of asking is you might not have someone who's in your circle, in your city, and I would encourage you to just I had YouTube mentors, even so, Tanya's in Switzerland, so we're not always able to communicate, and so I have people like Lisa Bevere mentoring me. She also doesn't know, like Christine Kane. There's so many people that have these valuable resources online to be able to do that, so don't let well, they don't live in my city or they would never respond to an email. Like, be like Shawn and ask, but in the meantime, while you're waiting, use the resources that are out there and readily available, books, podcasts, all the things, because it's so important to have that truth spoken over you, no matter where it's coming from.
and for me, it's such a joy to see you mentor all these women in this season of your life. And to me, that is the fruit that I want to see, right?
Yes.
And having my passion for mentoring you, then ignite the passion in you to mentor people.
Yes.
Hopefully, they'll be ignited to continue that. And it's just like a wildfire that spreads. And we have a generation that has spiritual mothers and fathers.
Yeah.
And so it really just makes it grow so much faster.
Yeah.
So good.
We're talking also on these Go and Tell podcast about just encouraging you to share the faith. And one time I was preaching at a church in Germany, and I had this young man come up to me and he said, "Man, your passion for the gospel, I want that. I want to have this kind of passion. I want you to be my mentor." And I was tired that day. I had just finished mentoring some young men. And I told this guy, I said, "I'm not going to be your mentor." And he goes, "No, I want to be like you. I want you to be my mentor." And I said, "Sorry, I'm not going to be your mentor." He's like, "Please mentor me." And I said, "I tell you what, you call me again in 6 months from now on this exact day at this exact time, and I will reconsider." And one, I knew I was so far away from him, it would be hard to mentor him. Two, that day I was really tired and jet lagged and couldn't think straight. Three, I wanted to see how serious he was, because one thing for a mentor, whenever you mentor people or myself, and Janelle, we want to hear about you. mentoring the ladies you mentor, it takes a lot of work. It's a lot of effort, a lot of energy that goes into it, and you want to see fruit.
Yeah.
But sure enough, 6 months later, my phone rang. Hey, it's me. And I was like, bro, all right, fine. I'll mentor you. And now this guy is a great evangelist around the world doing
Mhm.
great things. And I'm so proud of him. But his consistency and his persistence is really what won me over to be his mentor. So
Mm.
don't give up. If someone says no, just say, what is it going to take? I want to be like you. And when it comes to evangelism, find people who are already doing it that inspire you. The Bible says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And find someone who would sharpen you and make you better so that you can better share the gospel of Jesus to people around you.
Mm.
But that being said, Janelle, tell us, why do you have such a passion to mentor
I
young?
feel similarly to Tanya. I feel like I just have a sisterly heart towards specifically the younger generation. My ministry is called The Well that I help lead, and it's young adults ages 18 to 28. And a time in my life that was really tough for me was during those years, and I hit rock bottom around the age of 23. I didn't know who I was or what I was supposed to do with my life, and I cried out to the Lord, and He met me in that time. But I just know that the importance of having someone in your life in those stages to speak to you and say, "Girl, I get it. Like, there is a better way, there's a better path for you. You're not weird for thinking that you want to live differently or be different." I think that has been why I have such a heart for it because, like Tanya, I don't want people to make the same mistakes in. And I'm just try to be such an open book. Like, if you have questions about my testimony, I try to listen to the Holy Spirit to lead me in conversations of, hey, I think this part of my story or this part of my testimony might really speak to you, and letting God lead me in that. And even just sitting with people, I think the biggest tip I would give if you're mentoring or if you're asking a mentor would just be just sitting with people and spending time sharing your stories. Like, we had a podcast earlier on, you can go back and listen, about testimonies. And Ruben and Maya did an amazing job of just not being ashamed to share your story, because that's really where the power is, and that's where people can truly learn and see, like, "Hey, I see myself in your story, and I think maybe I'm at a crossroads and I could go this way, but I could see, like, the decision that you made, and it could help someone turn in the right direction." So, I just have a heart to reach, s young adults and create sisters and, of course, lead people to Jesus.
Awesome.
We just have a few more minutes. In just a moment, I'm going to ask you for your final thoughts on mentorship. But this morning, I was reading the book of Timothy. And even though mentors are not mentioned in the Bible doesn't say you need a mentor, it's modeled in the Bible. So we see Elisha being mentored by Elijah. And as I read Timothy, I'm reminded that Paul mentored Timothy. And so it may not be specifically mentioned in the Bible, but it's modeled in the Bible. And we need mentors. We need people who are going to help us be all that God has created us to be in life, but also in sharing the gospel of Jesus. And so, with that, just one final thought on mentors. Any comments?
Yeah, there's a key word that's really near and dear to my heart, and that's authenticity.
Mm,
Like, be authentic in your mentoring other younger generation, but also embrace the authenticity of your own mentors. Like, be vulnerable,
mm.
share those issues that you're facing.
Yes.
Because if you're trying to hide them, you're not going to get
Yeah,
anywhere.
so
And
true.
eventually, you know what? People are not stupid. They're going to figure it out. So
Yeah.
just be who you are, hang on tight to Jesus, and let your light shine with
Yeah.
all its flaws. So,
Yeah, I love the verse that says, like, the light has come and the darkness will not overcome it. I think when we bring things into the light, like, that's the perfect space. Like, you wanna be wise about sometimes what you're who you're sharing certain things with, and I know that's so true in my life. Like, if I share this with someone, like, they're gonna think I'm crazy, and, like, whenever I've shared it with my mentors, they're like, "Oh my gosh, no, like, that's a lie from the enemy," or "That's your own inner critic," like, just bringing those things to the light. But I think my final thought would be, that we just need each other. Like, we are not meant to do this life alone, and it's actually impossible to do it, to live the life that God has called you to live and to be the person He's created you to be if you don't have people in your life. And so it might take, like Shawn going 30 days. That's kind of funny you shared that, because that ended up happening to you with this guy who
Yep.
called you 6 months later. But if we don't go out and seek it, I would just encourage you to pray. Like I've prayed for more mentors to come into my life because you continuously need more and as you're growing. So yeah, we need each other. That would be one of my equippers. We need each other and pray that God would provide that for you in your life because he absolutely will.
Yeah.
So that my one thing also to add to this is when you do find a mentor, just serve them, honor them, respect them.
Okay.
Whenever I first met John Weber, I was so excited to reach the Dallas Cowboys, and he took me to the chapel service, and it was a dream come true. But the next week, we didn't have a home game, and I wasn't going to chapel services. I was cleaning the toilets in his office. And he said, "Hey, if you can help me do this and clean the toilets and clean my office, it would really help me so I can study and go on the road with the team." And I don't know how many times I cleaned that toilet, but
That's so
we we had a great relationship as a mentor-mentee, and I think he really appreciated the fact that I wasn't just there to just suck life out of him. I came to bring him life as he brought me life and as
yeah.
he mentored me as well.
Yeah, you get that front seat to someone's life, which I've actually had with you guys. And both of you, I feel like, have mentored me, Shawn, like in such a great way. I just want to acknowledge that and say thank you for mentoring me. Like it's blessed me so much. So I just can't imagine where I'd be without you guys. And so just kind of hitting me in this moment of like, look at the fruit of, like you were saying, like it's passing on. So thank you so much, both of you, for your yes.
Well, you're making me tear up too, and honored always goes both ways, you know? We're honored. It's an honor to be asked to be a mentor and have that just readiness to absorb any knowledge that
Yeah.
somebody gives, and it's an honor. So we've loved it, and we'll continue to love it. Yeah.
Before we all start crying, thank you so much for joining this episode. The Lord bless you guys. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in to today's episode. We are so glad you're here. We want you to stay on this journey with us, and an easy way to do that is to follow us on Instagram at GO&TELL. Another way you can stay up to date with us is just subscribing on YouTube. You might be watching right now. Go ahead, click the like and subscribe button to stay up to date with the YouTube channel. And the final way is podcast. You're probably listening on podcasts, and you can find us on Apple and Spotify. We are so glad you're here, and we will see you in the next episode.